Do you enjoy trains? How about shootouts and blowing up the Red Army? And obviously we all enjoy managing the lives of some Czechoslovak people. Well, this game will offer you all of that and more, so we're going to take a little look at it, and yes, this is a sponsored video, thanks to THQ Nordic for that. But if you're in the mood for a World War I RTS strategy game, this could be one for you to take a look at. The game released on November 28th, so it's out now. There is a link below in the description if you wish to check it out. The whole story here is that you are a Czechoslovak legion that was on the side of the Reds, but the war has ended now and you need to get home. But you can't go west as you'd like to because your enemies are there, so you gotta go east, which means going all the way across Russia, traveling down the Trans-Siberian Railway to get to Vladivostok, which will finally allow you and your people to get home. Now, while it is a fictitious story, it is a pretty story-driven game, and it will give you that story through cinematics and dialogue and written dialogue and some live action stuff, as you can see here, which is pretty nice. You don't see that too often these days. And the game does a great job with its World War I setting, feeling pretty authentic and pretty harrowing a lot of the time with some of the situations and stories you come across. One nice feature that struck me first is this. This is the immersive audio language option that mixes Czech, Slovak and Russian to give you an authentic feel to the time. I do appreciate when games do this kind of thing properly, so I do recommend that, although for the purpose of this video, we'll put it on English, although it is going to sound far too British, which is very confusing in the war. The game centers around your train, of course, making its way across Russia, which you do have complete control over. And this train will need to be operated by your good Czechoslovak legion. And there's lots of roles to fill, from drivers to chefs to doctors to infantry. Everyone's got to be useful. And all these different characters are unique in their own right, like Vera Moretti here. She's my finest field medic, and she's got her own different traits that give her a different kind of character, which can make her better and worse at certain roles. They all have progression as well and skill points to level up to make them better, and more importantly they have these three bars to manage: health, morale and stamina. You need to keep an eye on these things, morale perhaps being the most important one outside of health of course, because you don't want to be dead, but if morale drops too low there's a chance the person might desert and you'll lose them, and thus if you lose too many people you're really going to struggle. So you got to look after them, you got to keep them healthy, keep them happy, so they can all work together to get home. So you've got your people to manage, but also your resources, the most important two being fuel and food. There's also money and wood and metal. All of these come in handy in different ways, from upgrading your train to giving them to people to help them, or for buying stuff from merchants or trading. So it's all very important. Another thing I appreciated is how the difficulty works. You've got 4 different ones to choose from, Road Trip being the kind of easy story mode, Commander being the more challenging hard mode, and then Tactician and Quartermaster. Tactician keeps the RTS battles challenging, but makes the resource management easier, and Quartermaster does the same thing, just the other way around. So perfect if you prefer a certain aspect of the game. For me, I love the RTS battles, but I'm not huge on resource management, so I've been playing mostly on Tactician. So you make your way, traveling on your train, looking after your people, managing your resources. You do have to be careful not to sit in one place too long, because this little bar fills up and then the Reds will find you. But you join me here just after I've been through Omsk. And as you travel through the regions, you will see all these little white markers around, which are points of interest, which you will want to send squads to. These are, again, your people. You choose who goes in what squads, how many people are in there, what weapons they're taking, what gear they're taking. And you'll see the little squad marker moving along towards their destination. And when they get there, they'll be able to interact with whatever might befall you there. It could be something good, it could be something bad. Like here, we go to a lake, we do some fishing, and we get a load of fish, adding to our food resource. Or we might find a merchant who we can buy things from, weapons and ammo in this case. Or we might find some hideous atrocity, so many bodies, women, children, murdered, violated. And these things can have a massive impact on the squad that you sent out there. As you can see here, all of my people have taken a massive morale hit from this situation. One guy's even so traumatized that he's now got his stats permanently reduced, so things can get pretty rough. Or this situation, while one of my squads was out foraging, they came across an overturned truck, it ended up exploding, nearly killed one of my boys, but not before we got a whole bunch of ammo out of it, so a positive and a negative. Or most excitingly, you might have situations like this. 3 people have come out of the woods singing, they see us, put their hands up. One of them, a man as thin and tall as a maypole, says, "Hello there, legionaries. We ran away from our unit as soon as we heard you were nearby." Your soldiers offer them a cordial greeting. "There are others like us in a camp nearby that's barely defended. We want to get home, away from this idiotic war. Will you help them?" So now I have a decision to make. Will I go and try to save their people and send in a squad to start an RTS mission? Will I detain these people for being dirty deserters, or will I just get back on my train and fuck right off? Well, I don't know about you, but something seems a little suspicious here. The fact that he's mentioned it's barely defended, and the fact that the quest is called Trust Thy Neighbor makes me not trust this man, but of course I'm an idiot and I'm going to go in anyway. Now, to show you some RTS gameplay, but to not give spoilers, I'm going to show a different mission from the one linked to Trust Thy Neighbors. In this one, we got to get rid of some howitzers, and it's all going to start with this man, Alfred Kraus. He's been one of my finest soldiers. He's an absolute savage. I use him to scout, but he's basically a commando as well. So I send him off first of all by himself, hidden in the bushes. I can use his binoculars to see what's ahead of me. I see a couple of guards. I can use my well-concealed grassy position to take these boys out nice and quietly, because stealth is pretty important in these missions because ammo is quite limited, not just as a resource, but you can only bring so much of it into a mission. If you go through the whole mission guns blazing, you might find you run out of ammo. Now I'm using my binoculars again here to scout this farm before moving the rest of my team up. Once we're up there, I do find a bunch of enemies protecting this bridge, which I do need to capture, so I gotta take them out. What I'm going to do is set up a little trap here with my machine gunner. I can get him to sit on down and cover an area. You see the cone. Then I'm going to try and lead all the enemies up this way, past this fence, straight in to my machine gunner. So I'm going to have old Krausy take a shot at one of them to draw their attention and then run the hell away, making them chase Krausy. And of course, they run straight into my machine gunner, who absolutely mows them all down. My plan has worked perfectly. We keep moving towards the howitzers, having to pass through a railway station, which we need to capture first. And guess who's on solo bonking duty? That's right, Krausy. He moves up with a little bonk bonk here and a bonk bonk there, and then moves up to disable the alarm. I then bring the rest of my squad up, but we end up getting spotted, so we got a little fight on our hands. Everyone gets involved, but we take care of that and then start finally heading towards the howitzers. So I move up and try to assess the situation, deciding on what my plan of attack will be. I can see the howitzer right there, but I need some cover. I find a train nearby, which will provide full cover, because there is half cover and full cover, like many of these kind of RTS games. So I hide everyone out the way and have my grenade boy lob a grenade at the howitzer to take care of it, and then all the men are going to try and chase my grenade boy, and they'll run into my waiting little ambush party. Which happens to work quite nicely as I catch a lot of these enemies out in the open, and cover is very important in this game. But if you take note of the red health bars at the bottom of the screen, we don't look too bad right now, right? We've had a pretty clean mission. Until I get myself goddamn flanked because I didn't check the area well enough and these three bastards have come up behind me. Now you can pause this game and kind of stack orders for things to do, so it does help in these situations where things get a little rough very quickly. So I hoik a grenade out there, take a couple of them out, finish the last one off, but you can see just from this one little mistake the health of my party is now much worse than it was just now, and I've even got someone downed. So these RTS missions can be quite tough if you want them to be, so some strong tactics is required. You know, like making sure no one comes up behind you, goddammit. But we get the mission done, we are successful, now we just need to get out of there, and most of the squad needs to go in my hospital car now after that blunder, but nobody died, so success, I guess. As I mentioned earlier, your train and its carriages can be upgraded to improve them in various ways, so you'll need to use materials and resources for that, so that's a nice bit of progression in the train itself. And you can choose what carriages you have in your train, where they are, what order they're in. That can affect if they get damaged by certain things as well. So there's a fair bit to think about overall, and I think the beauty of this game is really just that journey, getting from A to B and struggling to get all the way there. It's going to be a long journey. I'm about halfway through, is about as far as I've got, and you definitely have your ups and downs. Overall, I think the game is really well presented as well. It all looks very nice. The dialogue and the little stories are well written. The artwork that accompanies all that is great. It gives a real sense of what life was like for people in this era and the struggles that they had to go through with starvation and cold and dealing with the aftermath of a war. Some of the stories and stuff are pretty harrowing, so it can get a little dark at times, but there is some humor and nice moments along the way as well. If I had to make any complaint of the game, I would say I'd like a little more depth in the RTS side of things, a little more refinement between the classes perhaps. For example, the sniper class and the sniper rifles have the same range as the regular rifleman, so those two classes don't really feel that different apart from their unique ability, the rifleman having a bayonet charge and the sniper having binoculars. I'd also maybe like to see another class or two, perhaps an engineer that could build some cover would be nice, because sometimes when I've got an 8 to 10 man squad, I often run out of cover and people are just stood in the open, so I've got to try and find some more, or I have to put everyone right next to each other, which isn't a great idea. Or maybe an anti-tank guy, because the way you deal with vehicles, because there are a few vehicles in this game, by the way, that you will have to deal with, and the way that you deal with the tank is by just shooting it with your regular rifle, which also, again, seems kind of silly. So it would be nice if there was a class with maybe an anti-tank rifle or anti-tank grenade to better deal with those threats. But there we go, Last Train Home, a very nice World War themed RTS game. If you're like me and you're kind of sick of all the turn-based games, I definitely think this is worth a look if you want some of that sweet RTS action. If you want more information on the game, there's a link below in the description. Or if you're thinking, holy shit, Zook, this is the best game I've ever seen, I want to play it right now. Well, you can because it's out right now. Go for it. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the future.